Live recording once again here today, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome because we have a special premiere of NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005 today. We are Cup Series racing once again, and we are at the Martinsville Raceway for race number 8 on the season in the Advanced Auto Parts 500. This is going to be a fun one. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I'll be in the chat throughout the course of today's race. Probably not the entire race, but I will be in here periodically. This is going to release the day of the actual Cup Series race at Bristol on that Saturday night. So, without further ado, let's get on into this one. Hopefully, you guys are having a great Saturday. Hopefully, you enjoyed the truck race, the Xfinity race that have happened over the last couple days. I'm sure I will have by the time it comes, and I can't wait for the Saturday night Bristol Cup race. Final race of the round of 16. Hopefully, you guys can't wait either. This is the prelude to that. We have 500 laps on a short track ourselves at Martinsville, so without further ado, let's get this thing rolling. Qualified in second place today, Brian Vickers on the pole. Hendrick Motorsports on the front row as a whole. Green flag is in the air. We're underway at Martinsville as they send it into turn one. Jimmy Johnson, 3 wide on the outside. Almost got clipped by Tony Stewart. With contact with the 172 down on the inside, sliding the tires, trying to get to the bottom. And the 172 slides up the racetrack into the side of Johnson. Almost into the wall, barely kept it off, and he's going to lose about a dozen positions on the outside. A wild opening lap here. Jimmy tried to send it into turn one on the high side, but then Junior missed the bottom as well. He got into him and stacked him up, and the 172 also slid up the track as Brian Vickers is able to go out and lead the first couple laps of the race. This car felt really fast in practice. I did tighten it up a little bit from where I had it in practice and qualifying. We just had a caution-free race at Texas that you guys saw on Thursday night. I doubt this one's going to go caution-free. 500 laps at Martinsville, but hey, we'll see. No pit strategy here for the most part. Stay out as long as you can on fuel. Don't want to lose a couple laps if you can help it. Recording this at like 7:30 in the morning. For those of you wondering, Monday morning, my last day off before I leave for Bristol on Thursday. Johnson sends it now into turn 3. Finally got the grip back. He's able to pass his teammate Brian Vickers. Vickers led the first 4 laps, and Jimmy Johnson will go out and lead lap 5. Johnson comes into this race 7th in the points standing, so he is inside the chase cutoff line, but he is about 185 points out of first right now. Kevin Harvick has just a 4-point lead over Greg Biffle. It was a 4-point lead over Tony Stewart, but then Stewart ended up dropping back to about 4th. The top 4 in points are all within 29 points of each other, so very, very tight there. I know we're only 8 races into the season, so you kind of expect that early in the year, but still a lot could go on, and Martinsville is one of those races where a lot could go on here, so I'd expect this to be a barn burner of an event, and there's going to be constant lap traffic coming up here very, very soon for these race leaders. I was quite surprised Brian Vickers started on the pole. Of course, he's a rookie on this season, still searching for his first win. And so far, we have had 6 different winners in the first 7 races of the season. Jimmy only has 2 wins on the year, and they've been kind of spaced out. He won at Texas, and then he ended up, of course, winning that second race of the year back at Rockingham on a fuel mileage win when Harvick ran out of gas on the last lap. So he's definitely having to, I wouldn't say struggle. He's still getting good finishes. He's in the top 10 in points, but it definitely could be a little bit better. A lot of it really is that Daytona season opener. And a pretty rough go of it there. It definitely seems like he's got the straightaway speed on Brian Vickers right now. Vickers really closes in the center of the corner. Right on the exit, though, Jimmy Johnson's able to get there. Almost like he's backing the corners up for right now. He's got the ability to do that because, well, there's no lap traffic anywhere in front of him. So it makes it a little bit easier. Big bounce off the curb. Curb really throws you in Martinsville in this game. I will say the cars are a lot easier to handle here than what they are in NASCAR Thunder 2004. Because when I went through practice and qualifying and everything for this race, it felt more stable, even right out of the gate with the setup I put in it. Hit the curb a couple laps in a row. He hits the curb in a weird spot, really throws him up the racetrack. Vickers might have a chance to get to the lead. Vickers going to look to the high side. Maybe a setup corner in turns 1 and 2 to dive bomb him into 3, but he actually lost a little time with that, so he wasn't able to get a lot of grip. Martinsville's always been one of my favorite racetracks ever since I was a little kid. For those of you that don't know, Bristol is my personal favorite racetrack. Martinsville's right up there as well. This was one of the tracks I loved racing at when I was a little kid in the NASCAR video games, watching the races. It was always Bristol, and then Martinsville, and then Daytona, Talladega were right up there as well. Those were kind of like my top 4, and I'd say still to this day are probably my top 4. I will also say Darlington's probably turned into my number 5. I never would have thought that as a little kid, but as I've gotten older, I know what tracks put on great racing, and Darlington puts on some really great racing. So those are probably my top 5 racetracks in NASCAR. Love me some short tracks and some super speedways. What sets NASCAR apart from many other major motorsports. The show that they are able to produce at 120 miles an hour on tracks like Martinsville and 200 plus miles an hour, Daytona and Talladega. Already to lap 18 as the laps are clicking by early on. The field is getting more spaced out, but they can't get much more spaced out. Lap traffic will be coming up in another lap or two. Vickers overruns turns 3 and 4, almost gets into the wall. Dale Jr. might have a chance to get him for second place into turn 1. Jimmy kind of slides the tires a little bit. Got to be careful of that. Only 20 laps into a run. Not sure how often these drivers are going to pit today for tires. Definitely don't want to be back in traffic at Martinsville as much as he can help it. Guess it's going to depend on how many cars are going to be a lap down too when we get these caution flags. Very surprised. Mark Martin is running 41st right now towards the back of the field. The only cars behind him are Scott Wimmer in the 22 and the 45 of Kyle Petty. 21. Johnson still hasn't quite gotten to Kyle Petty yet. Now he'll probably have a chance into turn 3 to get underneath him at lap 21. That's all it took to get to the lap traffic here today at Martinsville. Johnson sends it into the corner. He clears Kyle Petty with ease. One car lap down early on. Jimmy drives it in really deep down to the bottom end of turn 1, trying to protect Vickers, who we know was going to be deep into the corner as he's trying to get around Kyle Petty now. He's side by side down the back straightaway. Should clear him off the exit of turn 4. Johnson trying to get underneath of Wimmer. Wimmer actually beat him back to the gas that time. Now Wimmer pulls up high. He'll let Jimmy Johnson go. Terry Labonte off to a horrible start too. He's in 39th as well. Had 2 Hendrick cars on the front row. He has been the 4th of the 4 Hendrick Motorsports Chevrolets for most of the season. Hoping Terry Labonte can turn it around and maybe have a shot to make the chase at least. But his career statistics, if you look at his career, his final best season of his career, and final, good season of his career would have been 2003, where he finished 8th in the point standings. After that, he never finished back inside the top 10 in the points, so he never made the chase because this was the first year of the chase in 2004. And of course, he got his final win in 2003 as well, winning the Southern 500. Raced as Terry Labonte in our 2003 season on NASCAR Thunder 04. That was the driver you guys voted for. Well, you voted for another Hendrick Motorsports driver for NASCAR Chase for the Cup 05 in Jimmy Johnson. For that custom schedule season I plan on running, I'm going to be running as Greg Biffle in the Busch and the Cup Series because I I mean, he was my favorite driver growing up as a kid, so wanted to run as Greg Biffle there. Especially because he's got all different paint schemes compared to what he had in Thunder 04. He only had Granger as a sponsor. We got the National Guard, we got Subway, we got Granger again, but a different Granger car, so to run those. I meant to change the paint scheme up again. This is the second race in a row I meant to change Jimmy Johnson's paint scheme. I want to start alternating them because he's got like 3 or 4 of them in this game. And I've only ran the same one now through the first 8 races. I logged in. I was like, oh, can I back out? And I was scared it was going to simulate the race if I backed out. I was like, I better not do that. So I just went into practice and qualifying. Oh, well. Martinsville is one of Jimmy Johnson's better racetracks in his NASCAR career, but this is an early Jimmy Johnson. So really, most of these tracks, we don't really know a whole lot of how good he can be on his best game. 19 car looking to make a pass on Terry Labonte. Bonnie going to stay on the high side. Johnson just hasn't been able to get the corner exit he needs since he's been in this lap traffic. Going to clear his teammate Terry Labonte off turn 2. Follow Barry Baker in that 119 car. 2 more generated drivers in front of Johnson right now. And then you got Ricky Craven, former Martinsville winner, way up there. He won this race in 2002. Easily going to outbreak him. Rocky Perry's in the 143 car, by the way. Next generated driver, last car in the lead lap. Johnson's opened his lead up to about 1.1 seconds in today's race. Vickers was all over Johnson, but then Jimmy just started pulling away since they got into lap traffic. Gradually, of course. That might come and go, though, in the lap traffic, too. All it takes is one lap car to start holding one of these leaders up. Hendrick Motorsports not only qualified on the front row for this one, but if you remember in our last race, finished 1-2. A little contact with Rocky Perry there for Jimmy Johnson. Jimmy gets held up a little bit. Rocky Perry's definitely fighting to try and stay on the lead lap right now. He is not letting Johnson get in there, and Vickers is within about 9/10 of a second now. Jimmy tries to send it deep into turn 1. Perry doesn't give him a lot of room. No contact that time, though, and Johnson did a great job keeping it off the curbing, though they're still side by side into turn 3. Ricky Craven going to give Johnson a whole lot of room as he drove it in deep. Johnson underneath Craven for a little bit there. Slides the tires a little bit, getting into turn 1. Still keeps it off the 32 of Craven, and Craven's now lapped down off the exit of turn 2. But to go back to the fan vote thing, you guys will get to fan vote when NASCAR 21 Ignition comes out. First season we're going to run there will be a custom schedule season. If custom schedule is an option, of course. I would hope it is. It's been an option for a lot of classic games, and even last year NASCAR Heat 5 was an option. So hopefully it's an option. And if so, we'll do the custom schedule season, and you guys will get the fan vote. The driver I will use first for our first of 2 championship mode or season mode, whatever they're going to end up calling it, NASCAR 21 Ignition playthroughs. of a gap between where Craven was and the next lap car of Joe Nemechek in the 0-1. Vickers got to within about 0.8 of a second when Johnson was trying to pass Rocky Perry, and now the lead is cut back out to about 1.2 to 1.3 seconds again. Johnson, I would say, probably has a better longer run car than anybody else in the field, just by simply being able to get through the lap traffic. Again, the car was handling very, very good in practice. No, I didn't make more than a 20-lap stint in practice on tires, so as the tires start to fall off in this race, really get to see how this is going to work. We have not ran here in the Busch Series, so the first time we've actually ran here in a Gen 4 car in general, no matter the engine. And we have had 2 races here in the trucks, a little chain reaction there. Bump and run on Joe Nemechek on accident. And then Nemechek kind of shot into the 38 of Elliott Sadler as well. Johnson locks the tires up as he pulls around that 38 car. Sadler's in the top 10 in points, so he does not need a run like this today. Of course, he was our Daytona 500 champion as well. Pulled off the upset there. His teammate Dale Jarrett only 2 positions ahead of him right now. And that contact, by the way, with Nemechek, again, it stalled out Johnson just enough. Bump and run is a classic move at short tracks, especially here at Martinsville, but it can cost you time too. And because he did not clear Elliott Sadler off the exit of that corner, had to battle him for about another lap. That 1.3 second lead quickly goes down to about a second, and Vickers is working on Nemechek and Sadler now. He's cleared Nemechek. He's still underneath Sadler into turn 3. He should clear him off of turn 4, it looks like. So Vickers definitely trying to get back into this. We'll say this is probably going to be a lot more action-packed than the Texas race, so maybe I'll be more entertained without the chat down there, and hopefully you guys are too. So far, this has been a pretty good race. Bouncing off the curb in that time, but luckily he was able to clear Robbie Gordon on exit. Kind of slid the tires, couldn't quite get the car all the way down to the bottom that time. No big deal, he didn't go too wide. Robbie Gordon's all over Jimmy Johnson. He wants that lap back. Now he moves way up the racetrack, overrunning turns 1 and 2. Robbie Gordon pushing really, really hard. He is in the free pass position for now, but of course lap cars get lapped pretty often here at Martinsville, so the odds of him holding on to that position for much longer is going to be slim to none. Already to lap 50 here tonight at Martinsville. You haven't missed a thing so far. We'll be taking a couple breaks like we did at Texas and the Lowe's Motor Speedway race, I guess you would have saw, in Kansas the weekend prior. The Kansas race is already aired at the time of me recording this. That was pretty wild in the second half. Not sure if it's going to be like that here today, but it definitely has the capability. I don't think we're going to be seeing anybody flip at Martinsville, but I could be wrong. I guess it's not impossible with this game. I didn't think you were going to see anybody flip at Kansas either. We saw 2 flips in the same crash. Bounce off the curbing, kept Johnson from getting underneath the 43 of Jeff Drain that time. Another big bounce off the curb. I will say, though, the curb is pretty accurate in this game because it does kind of throw a car a little bit at Martinsville, and I'd say it's pretty accurate. It's not like NASCAR Heat, it kind of throws you, but you kind of like stay glued to it. It's weird. Man, Dale Jarrett all over the back bumper of Jimmy Johnson. Jeff Green definitely holding up Johnson just a little bit again. Johnson sends it off into turn 3, finally clears, and Vickers got to within about 0.7 of a second, but now Vickers is having troubles even trying to get around Dale Jarrett. So each and every one of these lap cars is going to be tougher and tougher to pass than the one prior, the ones that are at least still on the lead lap, because they want to stay on the lead lap. They know, okay, we've been over 50 laps green at Martinsville. Usually don't get too long of green flag runs here, usually. So you got to expect the caution to, come on at some point here. And you want to be that last driver on the lead lap. If, worst case scenario, first driver lap down, yes, you'll have to restart at the tail end of the longest line, but at least you're back on the lead lap. 109 car, generated car right in front of Johnson as he just sneaks underneath him. And look at him trying to run Jimmy down on the front stretch, trying to side draft him as much as you can side draft at Martinsville. Johnson beats him into the corner, and again, Jimmy out's about a 1.3 second lead. It's about as large of a lead as he's had so far in the first 57 laps. Rusty Wallace, another driver inside the top 10 of the point standings, is running up here. He did make the inaugural chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, or I guess NASCAR Next Cup series back in 2004, so we'll see if he can replicate it. I kind of want to go back and look to see, like, what 10 drivers, because off the top of my head, I can't quite remember all 10 of them, but see it, like, how accurate the point standings will be this season compared to what we saw or would have seen back in 2004. I know Kurt Busch obviously won the championship in 2004. There are early season title contenders. I mean, Johnson does have the most wins, even though he's only got 2 in the first 7 races. That's how competitive of a season it has been so far. Looking for a 3rd win, though, here today. Oh, man, almost got into Kyle Petty. It was a close one. Petty going a 2nd lap down. He's the first driver to go 2 laps down here today. So there's a non-ally, the car in front of Rusty Wallace. So I'd have to assume that he's probably going to try to block to stay in the lead lap as long as he can. I think it's one of the generated drivers again. Well, Rusty Wallace is an ally, and he's trying to block right now, too. He knows the situation in points. He's 7th. Johnson's 7th. Rusty Wallace is sitting around 10th in points, if I do remember correctly, coming in. So he's the last driver in the chase. Remember, there's only 34 races. There's no Pocono races. Both the Pocono races are not on this season because Pocono didn't get licensed to be in this game. So it's the only actual Cup track that isn't in this game from the 2004 season. So, with that being said, our regular season is only 24 races. Instead of 26, we got a car in the wall in turn 2. Turn 4, rather. Car in the wall. I believe it's Bobby Labonte in the 18. I could be wrong. I believe... No, it is not Bobby Labonte. Can't tell who that is. Bad graphics. We stay green, though. Somebody blew the braking zone. It looked like they had a tire go down there for a quick second, but that wasn't the case. Good crossover by Johnson. Getting underneath of Rusty Wallace. A little contact. Oh, and Wallace hits him back to get into the next corner, door to door. Johnson tries to run him up the track. And Jimmy is all clear. Oh, and Rusty hits him. Rusty Wallace with a bump and run of his own now to try and get back to the lead. Oh, Johnson just messed up big time into turn 1. And Rusty Wallace is back on the lead lap. Still can't tell who that car is up there. It hit the wall. It's the car right in front of Rusty Wallace right now. Surprised Vickers hasn't closed in a whole lot. It's only down to 1.2 seconds. Got one driver on pit road up in smoke as well. Day's going to come to an end. Now the lead's down to 9/10 of a second. Dale Jr. is actually up to 2nd place now. Side of Vickers. Hopefully it's not Vickers that's on pit road with an engine issue. Oh, it is. Wow. Brian Vickers, rookie who started on the pole, led the first 4 laps of the race, is on pit road with an engine issue. So that leaves Dale Jr. now in 2nd. Tough break for Vickers because he was still in the second spot. And that could be cause for concern for Hendrick Motorsports considering we're only 70 laps in. Johnson gets around Rusty Wallace pretty cleanly that time. Bounce off the curb. Dale Jr. is running pretty fast here later into this run. Got about 70 laps in. Now this next lap car is really trying to block Johnson. Jimmy cannot get around these guys. Johnson getting blocked again, and look at Dale Jr. sending it to get around Rusty Wallace. It turns 3 and 4, and he's now within about a car length and a half behind Johnson into turn 1. Dale Jr. looking for his first lead of the race. Bounce off the curb for Jimmy. Johnny Sauter in the 30 car, by the way, rookie, the AOL. Paint scheme for Richard Childress Racing. Johnson getting blocked again. Oh, and he slides the tires into turn 1, trying to get around the 30 of Sauter. And Dale Jr. is looking for the race lead on the bottom. Johnson beats him back to the gas, pulls down in front of him. Now Jr.'s going to try to go to the outside into turn 3. Sauter's holding up Johnson big time right now. And Jr.'s going to get to the outside, but he's not quite going to lead that lap at the line. It'll be Johnson still. Jr. looking for 5 bonus points for leading his first lap of the race. And he's very, very close. And at some point here, Sauter's probably going to get the boot from Johnson. Jr. underneath, just can't get the drive off the exit of the corner. Will he use the bumper on Jimmy Johnson? At some point, no. Jr. overruns the corner, and I believe Matt Kenseth is now underneath him for second. Kenseth kind of came in out of nowhere. At least Jr. was in the top 3 this entire race so far. So Sauter's starting to stack up the leaders. Johnson way down low off the exit of turn 4. He's going to drive it in deep into 1. Finally getting underneath Sauter in the 30 as he had to fend off Jr. for a few laps. I've always loved those AOL cars, by the way. Both the paint scheme that Sauter's got right now, but even the paint scheme the year before with Steve Park and Jeff Green, those were some nice looking paint schemes. I'm a sucker for like those blue and yellow color cars, like the Best Buy cars. I always thought that those were pretty cool, especially like Matt Kenseth's Best Buy car that he won the 500 in 2012, like that kind of style looking car. For some reason, those look sick. The Wrangler cars, like I may be a little, or you guys may be a little skeptical of me saying this, but I loved Dale Sr.'s Wrangler cars better than the regular black. Now the black is iconic for Dale Sr. because he was the Intimidator. That was his nickname. But the Wrangler cars itself, I always liked I like the look of the Wrangler cars much better. It popped out in my eyes. It's my favorite Dale Sr. paint scheme. Those blue and gold. And I'm not talking about Jimmy Johnson's blue and gold with the gold numbers. The gold numbers is just a Hendrick Motorsports thing. Scott Wimmer about to go 2 laps down up here as well as the Kroger car has just gone a lap down for the first time. Dale Jr. going to get around him in 3 and 4, and Jr.'s striking closer to Johnson again. You got to assume Jr.'s going to be close to getting that first lap led. He's been pretty patient with Johnson as far as racing him clean so far. Future teammates, but they don't know that in 2004. So Jr. is definitely trying to race Jimmy pretty hard right now. He's had chances to get to the back bumper. He just hasn't used it. He's tried to pass Johnson clean about 3 different times he got alongside of him. Just couldn't get the drive off the exit of the corner to actually stay underneath him and make the dive into the next corner. Johnson has led for quite a while. He's led every lap from lap 5 till, lap 84 right now. Jr. overruns 1 and 2 as he tries to close in. Just wonder how much longer we may stay green here. Lap 85 at the start-finish line this time. If the lead is going to change hands, we will come back. If a caution comes out, we will come back. But for right now, we'll take a quick break. You're watching the Advanced Auto Parts 500 live on KRC, NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005 for the Nextel Cup. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back at lap 126 out of 500 in the Advanced Auto Parts 500 right here at the Martinsville Speedway. A NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005 for the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series. Johnson currently working through lap traffic, has not lost the lead, and is actually extended to a 1.7 second race lead on Dale Earnhardt Jr. Had a little moment there for a little bit with the 119 car where he kind of chopped my nose off in the center of the corner and made contact with him, and Jr. almost got to the lead only about 4 laps after we went to that little break, but Junior was not able to get around us and actually take the lead. After that, Johnson just kind of started pulling away, and you saw just my last corner, Jimmy got into the left rear of Ward Burton. Just trying to make the pass on him still. Sends it into turn 3. He'll get around him. I'll tell you, though, these tires are definitely starting to wear out. We are in the second half of the fuel run. It's right at lap 87. I hit halfway on fuel just as we went away for that short break, so probably going to be seeing some green flag pit stops anywhere from like lap 160 to 180 if I had to assume, so be on the lookout for that in about the next 60 or so laps. Johnson just kind of rolling with what he's got right now. This is expected to be a 2 pit stop race today then. Obviously, if we end up getting any more cautions, I'd assume that we're probably going to end up getting more pit stops, but there we go, into the final quarter of the fuel run now. Quarter of a tank remaining. Jimmy Johnson at least. See if Dale Jr. or Matt Kenseth or any one of these other drivers that maybe towards the front of the field could try and close. Definitely a lot of drivers a lap down. I don't think anybody expected this race to go caution-free through the first 132 laps. And some bump and runs. It's short track racing. Closest we came to a caution was when Johnny Sutter had just kind of blown the braking zone, it looked like, in turn 3. Slapped the outside wall. We didn't get a caution for it, though. And he obviously is a lap down now, so maybe just a rookie mistake here in Martinsville. We've seen that a couple times today. Of course, one was a mechanical failure for Brian Vickers very early in the race. Luckily, he was able to get 5 bonus points, get some laps led. He came in first driver below the cutoff line for the Chase for the Cup coming into this, so he was 11th in points. That's a tough break for the rookie. He's going to be losing a lot of points today for the last place finish. He is the only driver, though, who so far has DNF'd up to this point. Notice with this game, too, like if you get a caution and somebody's on pit road because they like blew an engine, they don't go to the garage until after the yellow. So he's just going to remain on pit road until then. But if he disappears, he's likely not back on the racetrack. It's just you pull the car to the garage and pack it up for the day. Not like NASCAR Heat where they just kind of sit on pit road the entire race. It's kind of hard to tell exactly how many drivers DNF if you get any cautions throughout the course of a race until you get to the end of the race. They'll tell you when they work back out on the track, because there is times where you see them work themselves back on the track, trying to outlast anybody else who might DNF, especially in a race like this where there's a lot more laps. It's definitely feasible. Vickers was to do that, and he needs all the points he can get, obviously. I know we're still early in the season, only in race number 8, but I mean, the regular season, only 24 races instead of 26 now. That means we only got 16 races until our Chase for the Cup after this race concludes today. 16 races are going to fly by before you know it. Joe Nemechek going to go a second lap down. There's Jeff Gordon. The only other Hendrick Motorsports driver who's still the lead lap outside of course, your race leader, Jimmy Johnson. Gordon coming off a runner-up second place finish at Texas. Finished a little over 1 second off the race lead from what you guys saw on Thursday. And I guess I would have recorded that race 3 days ago from when I'm recording this one. I recorded that the Thursday before. So Jeff Gordon, first car lap down. Kevin Harvick, last car on the lead lap right now. And he's about to go a lap down, it looks like. Sterling Marlin in the 40 is also on the lead lap, just up ahead for Chip Ganassi Racing. Now running that silver bullet paint scheme today, so that's pretty interesting. I'm not sure what paint scheme that is. It looks like a blue car. We're trying to hang on strong on the outside. Can only do it for so long. Jeff Gordon, though, closes quickly on Harvick's back bumper. Going to try to race him for that free pass position. The lucky dog position, if you will. But then they're going to have to race Sterling Marlin. Brendan Gaughan's on the lead lap up here. Bobby Labonte's on the lead lap up here. A lot of lead lap cars. Kurt Busch also in the mix. Casey Kane just ahead of Kurt Busch. It's really all going to be battling each other very hard right now. These are definitely some of the faster cars. I don't know what that sponsor is. For Sterling Marlin, as we got cars pulling onto pit road. Short pitting at about lap 140. They just can't take it anymore. Don't want to go any longer on tires. Luckily, we didn't have a stack up getting into turn 3. It's not expecting cars to pit this early into the run. Johnson's going to go as far as he can. He can probably go another 25 to 30 laps. So now Kurt Busch is the last car in the lead lap, and these cars short pitting better hope that there's not going to be a caution. Because we have seen in NASCAR Thunder 04 that cautions could come out in the middle of green flag pit stops quite a bit. So if that ends up happening today with maybe a phantom yellow or something like that, Johnson wants to get around Kurt Busch as quickly as he can. Trying to side draft Kurt as much as he possibly can. Kurt not going to give him a lot of room. A little contact as Kurt forces him onto the curbing, and Johnson bounced off the curbing right into the side of Kurt Busch. Busch got loose off the exit of turn 4, but Johnson will put him a lap down. Kurt was very, very aggressive there. More stack-ups, cars coming out of the pits as drivers are coming in. Typical short track action. Somebody made contact. That might have been on pit road. I really don't know. There's a lot of action going on right now in green flag pit stops. Tony Stewart still on the lead lap up here, unless he came off the pit lane. Almost got into the 119 who was coming off of pit road, working his way back out onto the racetrack. Johnson's going to stay out as long as he can. Yes, he'll lead a lot of laps, but a lot of the lead lap drivers are already pitting. That tells me that the window to make it on 2 stops is open, and that's probably why they are pitting right now. Here goes Tony Stewart onto the pit lane. And he would have been the last car in the lead lap. So now everybody who was on the lead lap has now hit pit road. Some of those guys that just went a lap down right before everybody pitted, like Sterling Marlin, Jeff Gordon, Kevin Harvick. They'll probably cycle back ahead of Jimmy Johnson once Johnson pits. He's got about 135 to 140 lap older tires on these guys that have been hitting pit road. Lap 150, still caution-free at Martinsville. Middle of green flag pit stops. We'll stay with you guys until Johnson makes his first pit stop of the day. So far, we're getting through these pit stops cleanly. Let's see if we can continue that. Johnson locks the tires up into turn 1. Definitely a lot easier to do as those tires are as old as they are right now. I guarantee it's going to feel like a night and day difference with the grip once we get those fresh tires back on the race car. Johnson's going to have to hope his crew doesn't make a mistake. They did make a mistake on the second to last pit stop at Texas. That was a 5-stop race. This one's only a 2-stopper. If this somehow went caution-free, which, again, I doubt it will, we still got over half the race to go. Johnson slides the tires into 1 a little bit there. Trying to get around the rookie of Scott Riggs. Bounces off the curbing. A lot of these guys on fresher tires, too. It's only going to make it even harder for Johnson to make these passes. Slides into 3 and slides up off the exit of the corner in front of Riggs. Max Johnson doesn't have more than a 1-lap lead, so that tells me some of the drivers who were already lapped down are probably staying out a little longer as well. Especially if you're in second place 1 lap down, you can get the free pass. If you were running, say, outside the top 20 and already 1 lap down, might as well. That is not a bad strategy whatsoever, because I don't think anybody expected to see green flag stops at a Martinsville race. But again, you're seeing them right now. You see how much these lap times have even fallen off for the race leader, Jimmy Johnson, who was one of the faster cars on the track. That second to last lap was a 20.531, and that's about a half a second slower than his fastest lap in this race, which actually isn't too bad of a fall off, all things considered, with this being Martinsville, but definitely some fall off there, and you can just tell a lot of it seems to be corner entry. Corner exit still seems to be pretty good, which is where Johnson has been at his best in this race today, but I don't know, we'll see. We'll see. I think I'm going to be pulling triple duty on my Monday of recording. I'm recording this race early, and I don't know if I'm going to do it directly after, so I'll probably end up going golfing after this, give myself a little bit of a break, and then come back and do my Lowe's Motor Speedway race on NASCAR Chase for the Cup 05, which would be for the Busch Series. So get a Cup race, a Busch race in, and then, of course, we got that live stream later tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You guys will have already seen the race, but next NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode race will be tonight as well at Iowa. So another short track, my goodness. Another Cup race, too. Nowhere near as long as this Martinsville race, though. It's only like 280 laps, which is, for a short track, not bad at all for a Cup race. Should be pretty short. Check battling a little bit. Harvick clears him off the exit of turn 2. Some of these lap cars still being patient, even though they have fresher tires, because they are that many laps down already before. Like Nemechek was 2 laps down even before the green flag pit stop started. So he really didn't have much incentive to battle Jimmy Johnson there. Same for Ward Burton. I think Ward might have only been 1 lap down. We'll see. And Johnson has led every lap since lap 5 in this race, so he has led for quite some time. I'd like to think he's probably not going to hold on to the lead once he hits pit road. But if you could somehow lead over 400 laps in a Martinsville race, that is highly impressive. So fuel tank is almost empty for Jimmy. Burton took a big bounce off the curb on corner entry. Went a little wide. Turn 1. Burton didn't hit the curb that time, but he still overran the corner. Sends it to get around Robbie Gordon. Andy Armstrong in the 109 car is the next car ahead of Johnson. It's going to take a few more laps yet. Trying to get to lap 170. This only being a half-mile short track, even though it says fuel tank almost empty. He was at lap 164, so he can probably take it a little bit longer. Sends it underneath of Armstrong. Now he's underneath Michael Waltrip in the 15. He was also only one lap down before those pit stops started. Could be one of the drivers that maybe cycle back to the lead lap before Johnson gets there. I don't think he'll be one of them. I'll be shocked if Johnson comes out with bigger than a... Slides the tires a little bit, getting into 3. Getting past Kyle Petty. Johnson going to stay out one more lap. He's going to pit at lap 171. I hope he doesn't run out of fuel this lap. He is really, really stretching this opening fuel run out. Slim the tires, getting past Sterling Marlin. These tires are extremely old. But he'll be getting 4 fresh ones. He won't have to make another corner. So Johnson will pull to the inside of the racetrack, making his pit stop. And there we go. 4 fresh tires, full tank of fuel coming. Pretty much no damage repair, but we'll repair whatever damage there is. And yeah, no adjustments for the 48 of Johnson. 171 laps on tires at Martinsville, and he's finally going to get some fresh ones. We are still caution free. Oh my God. Oh, no, tire getting away. That's the second stop in the last 3 that there's been a mistake for Johnson. If you include the Texas race and now here at Martinsville, what was estimated to be 15.3 seconds comes out to a 16.4 second stop for Jimmy Johnson. Very, very slow, on top of the fact that he stayed out a lot longer than everybody else. We'll have to see what his lead will be as he gets up to speed, bounces off the curb, getting quickly in front of Rusty Wallace. Wow, I'm surprised Johnson actually drew that lead out. As Wallace goes up the track. Almost got clipped by the 38 of Elliott Sadler. So about a 4.7, 4.8 second lead for Jimmy Johnson. It was 1.7 when the pit stop started, so him staying out an extra 25 to 30 laps compared to Dale Jr., who was in second place at the start of the green flag stops. The exit of the green flag stops, Johnson throws that lead out by almost exactly 3 seconds. Trying to put Tony Stewart first lap down. That'd be a big driver to put a lap down here. Remember, it's tail end of the longest line for the free pass cars, so if there are more cars that are a lap down than on the lead lap, then they will have to restart at the tail end of the longest line. So if there's only 10 cars on the lead lap and there's 30 cars, 33 cars a lap down, you have to restart at the back of the inside lane, which would be the lap car lane, so you're going to have to pass the entire field. But at least you are back on the lead lap. But at a track like Martinsville, having to be at the back like that, that could be interesting. There's some contact between Tony Stewart and Jimmy Johnson. That time through turns 1 and 2. A little dicey. Johnson did kind of make a late dive into there, and Tony didn't realize he was there. It was an incidental contact on both halves. Both drivers there. Derek Cope, Mark Martin going high, trying to let Stewart go as Stewart is fending off Johnson as much as he can, and boy, he is hoping for a quick yellow right now. Martin and Cope will likely stay high for Jimmy Johnson as well. And now we have our caution at lap 178, our first caution of the race. Multiple cars in the wall in turns 3 and 4, I think trying to miss whoever might have spun in front. And Greg Biffle will go for a spin off the exit of turn 4, backing it into the outside wall, not too far ahead of the leaders. That is the caution Tony Stewart needed. The contact he was able to make with the race leader to stay on the lead lap helped him out. He got the caution a couple laps later. And we just saw pit stops, so I would imagine that the field is going to stay out of the pits here. We know Johnson will. Not many cars on the lead lap. Only, it looks like 5 cars on the lead lap. The free pass car will make it 6 cars on the lead lap for the restart. Green flag back in the air at Martinsville, lap 182. Contact getting into the first turn. Johnson undercut the corner. Now they're 3 wide. Oh, Kenton squeezes Jimmy now. Johnson hangs onto his race car. Into the back of Dale Jr. Nowhere to go on the high side. I'm not even sure who the leader is. It might be Casey Kane in the 9. Johnson finally going to pull back down to the inside Man, all over Dale Jr. Bunch of contact on Dale Jr. Move back to second place. Big bounce off the curb. Really costed him. Matt Kenseth is the race leader. Casey Kane, one of the lap cars. Some of those guys got back on the lead lap. Ricky Rudd, Kevin Harvick up there. Kenseth's trying to put him a lap down again. These are the first laps Matt Kenseth has led today. That 4.3 second lead that Johnson had over Dale Jr. before the caution waved is gone, obviously. And Jr. isn't even the leader on the restart. It's Matt Kenseth. Goes from about third to first. Johnson trying to get back around him right now off the curb. Didn't get the drive off of turn 2 he would have liked. Kenseth trying to put Harvick a lap down. We'll see. Oh, and they get stacked up behind Harvick that time. Kenseth does fend off Johnson for the moment. Jimmy trying to use Kenseth behind the lap car of Kevin Harvick. Got tagged once again. Johnson cannot get around him. Harvick does have a fast car, and now Harvick gets squeezed by Johnson. It's still hanging on the high side. Johnson goes a little wide. Kenseth gets back into him. Oh, man, now Casey Kane's in the way. Dale Earnhardt Jr. to the inside for the race lead. Oh, a little contact there. Contact. He's stuck on Jr. Jr.'s into the tire barriers on the inside of the racetrack. Caution's out for the second time. Dale Jr. into the wall. The tire wall on the inside of the pit road entrance as he got hung up on Johnson. Johnson couldn't get off of him, and Jr. was in the wrong place at the wrong time. So we went 178 laps before seeing the first yellow. Now we've seen back-to-back cautions in the span of about 10 laps. That was just a wild restart from the get-go. Johnson's going to hit pit road here, trying to repair the damage he had battling Kenseth, and then, of course, Dale Jr. right at the end. There's only 5 cars on the lead lap, so might as well. He'll take tires, he'll take fuel. Top off here so he can go even longer than the rest of the field. It is still a 2-stop race total, so this will actually be the second stop for Johnson. They'll try to buff out the race car as much as they can. Not too heavy of damage by Martinsville standards, but definitely some scuffs after all that contact he was making. We restart in 6th, if I'm not mistaken. Ricky Rudd, big benefactor of that because he was still on the lead lap after unlapping himself on the restart. He got the quick yellow. Dale Jr. will keep his spot in the race lead. Casey Kane, I think, back on the lead lap as well as Kevin Harvick. So there we go. 9 drivers now on the lead lap on the restart. Michael Waltrip just pulled right up in front of Jimmy Johnson getting into the first turn. Johnson's 3 wide middle. Oh, my goodness, stacking up into turn 3 as they're mainly double file. Stacking up again on the high side. Johnson trying to check up, and he gets into Ricky Rudd now. Well, the car was clean. It was clean until we got to that last restart. 2 cautions in the first couple hundred laps here today at Martinsville. Dale Jr. leads. He's got to be just a little bit more patient getting around these drivers, knowing that they are slower. He's got to know he's on fresher tires after pitting there, too. Another reason why they may be checking up a lot sooner. Johnson underneath Bobby Labonte. Labonte is a lap down. Johnson makes the move. Jimmy's back up to 4th place. One lap car in front of Dale Jr. still. It's kind of holding him up right now. Matt Kenseth in third, right in front of Johnson. Looks like he's going to try to block him right now as he has his teammate right in front of him of Matt Kenseth as well. Johnson really checked up, almost got into the back of Kenseth again there. Oh, Kurt. Crowd and Johnson, the teammates for Roush are working together. Kurt crowded Johnson way too much there. Jimmy didn't mean to get into him, but he didn't have a lot of room that time. It's going to be a lot of rivals probably at the end of this race all of a sudden. Not as clean as Martinsville gets up until that first caution came out for Biffle spinning, and it's been haywire since. See if things can calm back out. They better calm back out. We still got 300 laps to go. This car's not going to make it to the end running the way it is now. Matt Kenseth trying to crowd Jimmy Johnson. Johnson off the curb. He somehow still clears Kenseth. If it wasn't for the fresh tires, I don't think he was going to be able to clear him after hitting the curbing. About 2 seconds off the lead. Stewart's within a few car lengths of Dale Jr., but he's not close enough to really make a gigantic move on him either. They have a chance to get to the lead. That car in the clean air in front of him. He's actually kind of pulling away right now. Not sure who that might be, but... Well, 200 laps complete, 300 to go at Martinsville. We'll alternate through the different camera angles for the first time today. When we get back to the start-finish line, we'll do that for about the next dozen laps. Johnson makes a move to the inside of Tony Stewart. Sends it into the corner for second place, and he's going to clear Tony with a clean pass. Trying to close with these 50-lap fresher tires on Dale Jr. now. Bounce off the curb. Slight overdrive of the corner, nothing too major. You see the damage on the front of Johnson's car now. Keep getting some cars like this. Might end up getting a debris caution at some point. Jeff Gordon, by the way, was the car. Last car in the lead lap right now, likely in 10th or 11th. Johnson's all over Dale Jr. Jimmy going to be a little patient with Dale right now, about as patient as you could be at Martinsville. Doesn't want to get into him. He's been racing him clean. Junior has been racing Johnson clean. They got together off turn 2. Johnson just couldn't get off him, so you have to assume that he probably feels a little upset at himself for putting Junior in the tire barriers. That was a good setup move for Johnson as he's going to get underneath Dale Jr. down the back straightaway into turn 3. Junior checking up on the high side of these lap cars, slower lap cars, much in front of him. So using Kyle Petty as a pick. Jimmy Johnson back out in front at lap 2:06, second different time he has led today. And now he's trying to put his teammate Jeff Gordon a lap down. We know he's got a fast car, at least on that restart. He's got a clean car too, so that could be part of the reason. Johnson's got the fresher tires on. He's now going to try to use Ricky Craven as a pick to put Gordon a lap down. But Gordon's hanging on about as strong as he possibly can. And there we go. So using him as a pick is going to work. It's also going to work for Jimmy Johnson to get by both Craven and Gordon. It looks like it will work eventually. Got to figure, though, Junior's got equal tires as Gordon, or Jimmy having fresher tires than those guys. Terry Labonte going to give his race-leading teammate a little bit of room there, but Johnson couldn't get the power down in time to get around Labonte there. Terry going to give Johnson more room in 3 and 4 again. Jimmy's somehow struggling to get around his teammate, even though his teammate's giving him a lot of room. Scott Wimmer going to give some room, but Johnson bounces off the curb. And Dale Jr. Jimmy enters really deep into 1. Luckily, the 22 car is way up the racetrack. Give Dale Jr. credit. He's trying to hang in there as much as he possibly can. Another bounce off the curb from Jimmy Johnson. I have to assume it might be like the opening green flag run now that they're in lap traffic, especially Johnson having some fresher tires than Dale Jr. That at some point here you're probably going to see Jimmy start to pull away. It's a little difficult though when the lap traffic is side by side right in front of you like the 119 and the 6 are. Jimmy off the curb too. That's not going to help. It's like Martin's got some scuff marks. Somebody got into him earlier. Martinsville, we're going to be seeing a lot of these cars banged up by the end of it. 119 gets the accidental boot that time too. Go back to the far chase cam for now. At least for the rest of the first half of this race. Almost halfway home. Only 2 yellows in the first half of the race, but they came back to back. Still within the last 40 to 50 laps. I knew we weren't going to get into this race. We were going to have at least a few cautions, and still in the first half, I'm sure we'll see a few more. Junior trying to make a dive here at some point. Was in the tire barriers, bringing out the last caution. He gets closed on the back of Jimmy Johnson, trying to make a move. Overrunning turns 1 and 2 a little bit there. Greg Biffle, I believe, he might have gotten a free pass under the last caution. That's why he's back here, because he wasn't this far. But, well, then again, he did spin earlier, so maybe he is further back in the pack, because he kind of got loose bouncing off the curb, and so did Johnson. Not far behind him. Jimmy kind of clipped it slightly that time. Not as bad, so he kind of pulled Junior still. There might be enough damage on the 48 car, too, that even with the fresher tires, maybe that's why he's not able to pull away. He's just got to manage getting around these lap cars a little bit better. The more damage he makes to the front of his race car, the harder it's going to be for him. Fresh tires kind of right now might be the equalizer. It's not going to be on the strategy the whole rest of the race, you'd have to assume. Does make his way around Greg Biffle finally, though. Lap 219. We're going to take another short break here. You're watching the NASCAR Nextel Cup Series on NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005 at Martinsville for the Advanced Auto Parts 500 live on KRC. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Live on KRC at Martinsville for the Advanced Auto Parts 500 on the NASCAR Chase for the Cup video game with the Nextel Cup Series. Jimmy Johnson still has the lead, never lost it during that little break. Actually pulled out to about a 1.8 second lead, but Dale Jr. has ran him down in lap traffic and is now about 0.4 of a second off the race lead as we are halfway home at the start-finish line that time by. So 250 laps down, another 250 to go at Martinsville. We have had 2 cautions so far today at lap 178 and lap 191, I believe, was the second caution. Not long after the restart, Johnson still held up behind a lap car right now, and he gets into him. He's trying to get him out of the way. Now a little bit of contact has opened the door up for Dale Earnhardt Jr. to get to the lead. Jr. leads at Martinsville. Johnson trying to cross him over, though, into turn 3, and he's got it. Bounces off the curb, up the track, but he holds on. So Jr. never officially led a lap to get a lead change in that time. Johnson almost got picked behind the lap car, enough for Jr. to hold on, but Johnson powers back through. Again, those 50-lap fresher tires have to be helping at least that much to be able to pull off a quick crossover at Martinsville like that. And with this battling, here comes Tony Stewart in 3rd place now in the picture. Remember, he almost went a lap down and was running about 5th, 6th. Well, he would have been in 5th place, I guess. So he's in the top 5, but he almost went a lap down before that very first caution, lap 178. Contact was made between Johnson and Stewart. Stewart held on and got literally the caution 2 laps later for Greg Biffle spinning off of turn 4. And all of a sudden, Tony Stewart is in the picture of not only being able to stay in the lead lap, but because there were only 5 cars at the time on the lead lap, he's been right in contention since that first caution. Slipped behind a little bit after the restart, but now with the battling that Junior and Johnson are pulling off right now, it is Tony Stewart in third place who could be in the catbird seat. Junior really closed in on Johnson, who went a little wider than what he wanted to go that time through turns 1 and 2. Dale Jr. and Jimmy Johnson have raced each other so clean when battling for the lead outside of the tire barrier incident we saw earlier. Junior overruns the corner just a little bit. That might open the door up for Stewart. Nope, not quite. Now Junior's going to block Tony Stewart down the back straightaway. Junior dives it in deep into the corner, and now Tony Stewart's going to go a little wide himself. Sliding the tires maybe a little bit that time. Still a one-stop race to the end. We have had one pit stop, all under green flag conditions earlier in the race. Johnson actually made a second stop, though, under the second caution of the race. So that's why he's got about 50 lap fresher tires than everybody else. But he's got damage on the front of the race car from all the contact. It's Martinsville. You can tell he hasn't had too much damage on the rear, so he hasn't gotten bumped and ran on much. He's been doing the bumping, accidental or not. I think Steve Park was on pit road, or sorry, not Steve Park. I saw the AOL card. I thought Steve Park. It's not NASCAR Thunder 04. That was Jeff. Gosh darn it. Not Jeff Green either. The other guy who drives the 30 AOL car. Johnny Sauter. There we go. My goodness. Johnny Sauter. Oh, Junior way up the track. Johnson simultaneously gets into his teammate Terry Labonte. And Stewart is underneath Dale Jr. for second. I meant to say about Johnny Sauter is that he has an engine failure. He's had a rough day today. Got into the wall earlier on his own pretty hard. Fell lap down early. It's the second rookie to blow an engine. Ryan Vickers, who qualified on the pole, led the first 4 laps of the race, was running second while his engine blew in the first 100 laps. Unfortunately, we will not know if he would have been in contention like what Stewart Johnson and Dale Jr. are right now. But Tony Stewart is up to second. He has gotten around Dale Jr., but does he have the car to put the pressure on Johnson for the lead like Dale Jr. has been able to do over the last 100 laps or so? Dale Jr. on the high side. He's already 1 lap down, about to go a second lap down. And it does seem like Jimmy Johnson's pulling away from Tony Stewart. Stewart's holding up Dale Jr. I think Stewart was only fast enough to keep up with these guys when they were battling for the lead. They meaning the 48 and the 8, but just doesn't quite have the speed to keep up with Johnson on his own, it looks like, unless he may catch some difficult lap traffic. But you got to fight for every position possible. You got to get yourself in that position. Maybe if he restarts second, he could get to the lead on a restart. We saw Matt Kenseth go from third to first on a restart, so it's definitely possible. Oh, a little contact up ahead. Ward Burton. Sorry, Scott Wimmer, rather. Putting the bumper to 169 car, Jimmy Lane. Jimmy Lane crosses him back over cleanly without the bumper. Jimmy going a little wide. Johnson off the curbing, couldn't get the drive off, wants to stay underneath that 169 car. He's trying to race Ward Burton. Gosh darn it. Keep calling Scott Wimmer Ward Burton. I'm calling everybody their NASCAR Thunder 04 names now all of a sudden in the car numbers, but I'm not sure why I'm doing that. Rookie Wimmer. There we go, another lap down. Yeah, Johnson's really pulling away from Stewart. 1.9, almost a 2-second lead now. Side-by-side lap traffic back there in front of Stewart as well. That's not helping. And Dale Jr. is going to have to get around him here pretty quick because Johnson is pulling away at this point in the race. So these guys started pitting about lap 135, 140. We've had 2 cautions. So they've saved a few laps on their tires and fuel, but not a whole lot, only about 6 laps. I'm trying to figure out exactly when they're going to pit again, because you'd have to assume they may pit anywhere between lap 300 to 320, so they may be thinking more of a 3-stop race versus Johnson on a 2-stopper, though Jimmy, I guess, would make it a 3-stop race because he pitted 50 laps after his original 3-flag pit stop during that second caution. So Johnson, although he has to pit one more time, he has already taken his second stop under green. So at the very beginning of the race, it was looking like a 2-stop race, but we had to know that this race was not going to go caution-free. It is not. We've had 2 yellows, so it's kind of disrupted the pace a little bit, enough to where I think it's going to be 3 stops to the end now. It would have been 2 if we went green. Kind of like with Texas last week, where we were thinking it could have been a 5 to 6 stop race. It was 5 because we didn't get a caution at all in that race. It went caution free, so everybody was able to make it in 5 pit stops. That 500-mile event. This one 500 laps, but it's a half mile. 500 laps at Martinsville will wear you out. That is for sure. I'm sure that first run of the race, everybody had a kind of a sigh of relief outside of Greg Biffle, who brought out the caution back in his car into the outside wall off turn 4, just because it has just been rough. These drivers go that full tire stint, get those fresh tires. There's some 178 laps of non-stop action at Martinsville. Some dive bombs underneath the 16 of Biffle. Making the move, clear off turn 4. Ooh, man, tried to chop down to make sure Biffle was going to cross him over, and off the curvy he went. Jimmy's about halfway on fuel. These other guys, again, they're probably going to pit 50 laps before Johnson. So Jimmy's halfway on fuel now. At the very beginning of the race, when we went caution-free through the entire first run, he went 171 laps. But at lap 87, he hit halfway on gas. So 50 laps minus 87 would be 37. So maybe we're closer to about 35 or so laps away from green flag pit stops, but I'm sure we will see them. I mean, 35 laps at Martinsville is not very long. Get about 3 laps in about a minute here. Johnson's widened that gap out to about 2.7 seconds or so right now. So we're not going to go anywhere until we see those pit stops for the AI and those other drivers, in case we get a caution in the middle of them, like we had gotten many times in NASCAR Thunder 04, the few times we raced here. We've raced here 4 times, actually. NASCAR Thunder 2004. It's our first trip for the Cup Series here. Again, we had 2 Truck Series races at Martinsville. Those were only 200 and 250 laps in those races, so already beyond that in this race alone so far today. We still got over 200 more. Definitely been an entertaining race, I do have to say. There has been a lot going on. I have not been bored 1 second, that is for sure. And you can't be. You got to stay focused in a race like this. Battle of attrition. Mainly with the race car itself, but that is part of why you do have to stay on your best game all the way throughout. You cannot get fatigued. .9-second lead right now. I'd assume, as much as Johnson's pulling away, that Tony Stewart's probably still in second place. So it has kind of stalled out the last couple laps, and maybe Junior has finally made the pass on Stewart for second, but he's got a long ways to try and get back into this. He lost about 3 seconds during green flag pit stops earlier in the race. Not saying that that will happen again, but that was even when Johnson's crew making a mistake on pit road, too. That right front tire was getting away. We've had a penalty for equipment out of the box, but uncontrolled tire. I don't think we have that in this game, but it definitely cost the time to go get that tire. Man, that was a bounce off the curb. That almost shot Johnson into the wall off turn 2. Need to check up. Still about a 2.8, 2.9 second lead, though. A lot of lap cars in between the top two. Johnson underneath Casey Mears in the 41. We don't race at Martinsville again until we are into the chase towards the end of the season. And there we go. Derek Cope hitting pit road as well as a couple other drivers, so even sooner than those 35 laps. Oh, it took about 15. So green flag pit stops going on once again. Second of 3 pit stops today. The rest of the field, Johnson already again made his second stop. Dale Jr.'s already hit pit road as well, so now these guys got to really hope that there's not going to be a caution in the middle of green flag pit stops, because if we do get one, that is going to be troublesome for the field and trying to get to Jimmy Johnson. Got Burton pulling out of the pit lane. He's definitely kind of watching himself right now as he enters turns 1 and 2 on the high side intentionally. He doesn't know who's going to be coming into the pits and at what time. So he wants to make sure he's not going to run into anybody. That's the last thing he wants. Trying to survive the day. He has not DNF'd in the first 7 races of the year so far. And that would already include 3 500-mile races and a 500-lap race at Bristol. We've had a lot of longer races so far this season. There's another one, 500 laps at Martinsville. I don't think it was the 30 who had an issue earlier. I thought it might have been, but I just saw him dive onto pit road again. Oh, contact on pit road. Somebody was exiting their pit box. There was already a car to their outside. My goodness. He's looking out of the rear view and almost ran into Ward Burton, who was trying to pull the pit road. That's how alert you have to be in the middle of green flag stops on a short track. Very tight pit road entry and exit, too, at Martinsville. Casey Kane trying to get up to speed. Johnson will cycle in front of the 9 car. I should say the 9 will cycle behind the 48. Johnson's still on the track. So we know Johnson could go 171 laps on fuel. Jeff Burton checking up as Ricky Rudd exits pit road. Sterling Marlin coming in. The 169 of Jimmy Lane checked up. Johnson had to go high at the last second. Brake pretty harshly. Still stays in front of the 21 of Rudd, who was trying to get up to speed still. Luckily, that he had enough room to pull back down in the center of the corner. Some dangerous situations to be around in. As far as trying to keep your car clean. Almost a lap 300. Oh, and Jimmy Lane checks up. Off turn 4, he lifted. Right when you were supposed to get back into the gas, and that's why Johnson got into the back of him. Ricky Rudd all over the 48, not going to get around him there. Scott Wimmer in the 22. closed in quite a bit on Lane. Lane trying to block, though, down the front straightaway. Johnson couldn't get underneath him, and now we're at lap 300. Ricky Rudd to the outside. Up to the 48, but the 48 going to get underneath Lane in the middle of 1 and 2. So Rudd's going to get picked up high. Johnson will finally make his way by. So he's got a 1 lap lead on the field. All the lead lap cars, the 9 of them that we had, 9 or 10, I believe 9 cars were on the lead lap. We lapped Jeff Gordon, who got that lap back initially. And somebody blew an engine too. So 9 cars that were on the lead lap have pit, except for the race leader, Jimmy Johnson. We knew could go a bit longer. As long as he makes it to lap 329, he should be able to make it on field at the end of the race from there. Should have no problem. Martin running high. Martin's probably had his worst run of the year here today. Seen Matt Kenseth, Kurt Busch in the top 5 throughout the course of the day. So Kenseth's even led laps too. Definitely tough to see Martin running back here. Johnson's by far led the most so far. I'd have to assume he's going to clinch the most laps led at some point in time. I don't know if it's going to be before he has to pit or not. We'll see. I would like to think he could take it past lap 329. He's going to take it as far as he can to make sure he's going to be good on field at the end. But at bare minimum, he would have to go that far. I don't think he's quite hit a quarter tank of gas left, so he should be able to get there. We're going to take another short little break here. We'll be back before Jimmy Johnson makes his green flag pit stop. We're watching the Advanced Auto Parts 500 at Martinsville live on KRC. NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005 Nextel Cup Series Racing. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. More Chase for the Cup NASCAR 2005 action here. Lap 340. Just about the last 30 laps or so, we saw the green flag pit stops by the AI and the rest of the other drivers. Jimmy Johnson still has not made his final pit stop yet, so that means, yes, he will only have to make one more. He easily made it past that lap 329 mark. Still not to the fuel tank almost empty quite yet either, so he could probably go about another 10 laps at least. He's going to take this run as long as he can, just in case we do end up seeing our third caution of the race. That would be just huge for Johnson at this point. Slides the tires quite a bit into 3. These tires are obviously getting pretty old, and there you see very low on fuel, so actually still got about an eighth of a tank left. In Martinsville standards, he may be able to go another 15 to 20 laps before he'll have to make his final pit stop. And you just wonder when that pit window does open, I would have to assume we're going to be seeing some drivers short pit to the end of the race, thinking that it may be able to play green to the end from there as well. Johnson making his second pit stop under the caution versus everybody else. That is a game changer if this goes green to the end of the race. Because he will basically have no competition if it goes green to the end of the race. That's a long ways to go at Martinsville. That's over 300 laps without a caution because our last yellow was before lap 200. Another long green flag run, our second long green flag run of the race. Turn 3 into the tire barriers, 1 caution. That was the second yellow. Spin off of turn 4 was the first caution of the race. So turns 3 and 4 have been, I guess, the trouble corner for these drivers so far today. Over 2 hours of recording so far. This race is definitely one that usually takes right around 3 hours. I'm sure that's going to be the case for me here today. Our last race was, I think, just over 3 hours. No, it was like 2 hours and 56 or 57. Very close to 3 hours. But they going caution free, and the race pace never got broken up at all. Ooh, contact. Biffle getting into Ward Burton. Don't even know if they're actually even battling for position. They may be. Biffle still might be trying to get through as much traffic as he can since spinning earlier. Running just outside the top 10 at one point, and put him outside the top 30, and he's been able to try and work his way back into this. So it'll be interesting to see where Biffle finishes at the end of the day. Dive into turn 3. Warburton actually not only got back around Biffle the crossover, but he is pulled away from him. 150 laps to go at Martinsville. And yep, that window opened to the end. Oh boy, Ward Burton almost got into Mark Martin into turn number 3, trying to avoid Sterling Marlin, who was coming into the pits. So Johnson hasn't even made his final stop yet. We got drivers making their final stops who actually just made their second stop not too long ago, so maybe they'll go fuel only. But, I mean, that's like 200 laps on your tires at Martinsville, so you probably think that they're going to take right sides only, if not 4 tires still. A long ways to go, so they're really trying to make up a lot of time here, assuming it does go green to the end. They're trying to make up as much time as they possibly can. This could definitely be an instance where we could see a caution. At 352, now the fuel tank's almost empty. So we went green at lap, I believe, 194. Johnson obviously has not pitted since. I don't think he's quite going to make it as far as what he did on fuel the first run of the race. Looks like it's going to be about 5 to 10 laps shorter for some reason. And this run, he's just burnt more fuel. But we should be able to make it to the end still. I mean, it's less than 150 to go. He's not going to be 20 to 25 laps shorter on fuel for the final run of the race. Especially, we just saw some drivers pit, so we know that the fuel window's open. Drivers are still pitting. Robbie Gordon exiting the pit lane right now. There are a few, probably 3 to 5 more laps, and Johnson will hit pit road. He's making on caution here in the next couple laps, really. We get to practice that pit road entry a couple times, so. And obviously, we did it once in this race perfectly already, too. Not a tough pit road to get onto. It's just the traffic around you. You just hope you don't get ran over. As well, same thing when you're trying to work your way back onto the racetrack down the back straightaway. You just hope you don't get ran over is really the only tough thing about it. Pretty slow speed, so having to back it down to 70 miles an hour, especially with these older games, it's not really hard at all. You're only really having to back it off about 40 to 50 miles an hour to get to pit road speed. Johnson's going to go one more lap. He'll take it to lap 359 and then hit pit road for his final pit stop of the race today, unless we get a late caution. Maybe he'll end up pitting again. Who knows? It just depends on how the race flow is, how many cars are on the lead lap. Obviously, he doesn't want to give a whole bunch of people their lap back. He's the only one ahead if they, say, made their final stop already. So backing out of it, onto pit road goes Jimmy Johnson. 4 fresh tires, full tank of fuel, no adjustments for the 48. They'll buff out some more fenders, and this is the money stop. They made a mistake on the first stop of the race. No mistakes on the second stop. And it was a green flag pit stop where they made a mistake. 2 of the last 3 green flag stops, if you include the second to last stop at Texas that was under green as well, they've made mistakes. So they've got to clean it up here as Johnson tries to go for back-to-back wins. Perfect. Perfect stop that time. Much quicker, about a full second quicker than the first stop of the race for him. Jimmy working his way back out onto the racetrack, has about a 4-second lead. Wait for it to cycle through real quick off turn 4. It's less than that. About a 3.7 second lead. 3.6, 3.7 second lead right now for Jimmy Johnson. Exiting pit road. Not sure, of course, who is in second exactly. It's either Tony Stewart or Dale Jr., you would probably think, although it could be somebody else. There were 9 drivers on the lead lap for the second pit stop started for the rest of the field. So Johnson, as well as a few others, have made their final stop now. They are good to the end if this does go green to the end. Big bounce off the curb. Trying to get around Ricky Craven. The Tide Ride. Oh my goodness, Johnson. Big hit off the outside wall, ricocheted, inside wall rather, ricocheted into Ricky Craven. That was off the exit of turn 4. That was an awkward spot to hit it. That knocked Johnson's lead down about a second, too. That slowed him down quite a bit. Not quite a second, probably about 6-7 tenths of a second. Lead is a 3-second gap now back to second place as he slid the tires and finally get around Ricky Craven. He definitely struggled there for a little bit trying to get around the 32. Going to alternate through the different camera angles for the final time in the race today for about the next dozen laps. Right here at the Paperclip Short Track in Martinsville. 3.2 second lead. Looks like Rusty Wallace been putting a lot of pressure on Johnson here, trying to get his lap back. Might be 2 laps down, though. If I'm thinking correctly, I believe he's 2 laps down. It's actually kind of rare for Rusty's. Known to be a very, very good short track driver. Won a lot of races at Bristol in his career. Over 50 career wins for Rusty Wallace in his Cup Series career. Barry Baker in the 119 car. Johnson drives underneath him through turns 1 and 2. Hasn't cleared him yet. 119 still up high. Johnson low dive into the next corner, slides the tires. He will clear Baker. Now Wallace trying to get around him from behind. I still gotta say, though, that this has been a pretty enjoyable race, at least for me. Hopefully you guys are liking this race just as much as I have, if not more, down in the chat. got down to about 2.9 to 3 seconds even. Johnson starting to widen it back out again. Tries to get around the 174 car, who is blocking him up quite a bit. Johnson just trying to make a pass and can't get around him. Well, it seems like he does get the run off corner exit as he did there. Now he gets underneath the 172, but he slipped the tires maybe a little too much. He's going to outbrake him, though, into turn number 3 and easily get around him there. Even after bouncing off the curb, he was already clear. So he was able to ride that car up near the wall, off the exit of the corner, and use all the racetrack. The wall's going to get underneath him now as well. Big bounce off the curb. It's weird that you race in this angle, and it almost looks like there's more banking in the corners compared to when you're on the far chase cam. It looks a lot flatter. I don't know if it like rotates or it's just because you're this close behind the car. It's very strange. I don't use this angle too much on this game because of that reason. Compared to the NASCAR heat games. We'll go back to the far chase cam for the final 120 laps of today's race. Jimmie Johnson leads at Martinsville. Next race of the season will be the Aaron's 499 at Talladega. Talladega spring race, first of 2 trips to Dega on the season, and the only one in the regular season, so wild card race there. Elliott Sadler won the Daytona 500. Johnson had a bad showing in the Daytona 500 this year, even though he won the dual race. Didn't have such a hot run in the Budweiser shootout either. So you just kind of wonder what's going to go down on this super speedway race. The 500-mile events have not worked out for him well in the super speedways. Comes into this race 7th in points. So if he can get back-to-back wins going into Dega, get some momentum for him, and just survive the big one, or multiple big ones, whatever we end up seeing at Talladega, hopefully he can have himself a decent enough finish that he can stay above the cutoff line exiting Talladega, which is our 9th race of the season when that time comes around. Still about a 3.3 second lead for Johnson. Drivers who made their second stop of the race, majority of them have about 100 laps on their tires now. Going about 150 laps roughly into a run, so I would have to assume that they are going to make it to anywhere between 60 to 80 laps to go for a broad range, and we're going to be seeing a lot of them make their final stops of the race. That would give Johnson a 1-lap lead, so he's definitely hoping that this remains caution-free. Brendan Gaughan trying to keep battling Johnson back. He's going to drive it in really deep into turn 3, and he's going to get underneath Jimmie Johnson for a brief moment. Johnson gets to drive off of turn 4, going to hold him off. Down the front straightaway, it looks like. Gaughan sends it into 1, so he's trying to get one of his laps back. Rookies have not had very good runs so far. Jimmie going to kind of force him down on the inside of the racetrack. Oh no, Gaughan gets hooked! And back into the wall goes Brendan Gaughan. Oh, no! Brendan Gaughan gets turned, and we have our third caution of the race. Man, it didn't... Oh, and Greg Biffle piled in as well as Robbie Gordon on the inside of the track. A three-car accident, which started with a single-car spin. And Johnson's going to hit pit road because I would imagine everybody else will as well. He does not want to be on old tires at the end of the race. We have just over 100 laps to go, our third yellow of the event. Brendan Gaughan gets hooked. 4 tires and fuel, fourth stop of the day for Johnson. These drivers who already pit will at least get the wave around. It's a very, very tough break for Jimmy, and it was just so hard. It happened so quick. Even on a slower track like Martinsville, it was just really hard to actually figure out what whose fault was it. Did Johnson come down or Gaughan go up? Gaughan obviously sent it into the corner. I was not expecting that to happen. Johnson had side drafted him down the backstretch, and look at that. Tony Stewart will win the race off pit road. The position, actually somebody else won the race off pit road. Matt Kenseth from that #1 overall pit box will win the race off pit road. Tony Stewart second. Johnson loses 2 spots. He will restart third. Green flag back in the air at Martinsville with 110 to go. Gone underneath the 48 of Johnson. Contact with Tony Stewart. More contact with Brendan Gaughan now as well. And Gaughan's going to get... Oh, my goodness. He sends it into the corner. He gets hooked up the track again. What was Brendan Gaughan doing there? 3 wide. Johnson was just kind of sandwiched in the middle, and Brendan Gaughan was on the curbings, just sending it into the corner. I guess he already had the position. Maybe Johnson should have backed off. It was just 3 wide. There wasn't enough room. That's the second time in a row now Brendan Gaughan has gone around. And again, the rookies today at Martinsville have not had themselves a day. Our 4th caution of the race. Kenseth still leads. Johnson did get around Stewart right before the yellow for second place. And we'll set ourselves up for another restart after our 4th caution. So just like earlier, we saw 1 caution. The second comes right after it on a restart. These restarts are definitely rough and tumble here at Martinsville. Ward Burton pulled up in front of the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Johnson going to send it now into turn 3. He'll lead that lap at the line, but Matt Kenseth come down the track. Johnson pushed up just a little too much, a little bump and run on Kenseth. And Jimmy Johnson is back out in front with that bump and run on the 17. Kenseth's going to try to send it into the corner now, and he hits Johnson back, knocks Johnson into the 29 of Harvick. Kenseth to the lead. Oh, Harvick hanging on that corner panel of the 48. Kenseth clear off turn 2, and he's back out in front again. Somebody's blowing an engine down on pit road. Big bounce off the curb. It's Greg Biffle, who has already been in 2 accidents prior to the day. Kenseth pinched Johnson down there to hold on to the lead. Kenseth trying to block Jimmy. Johnson gets the drive. Kenseth will give him the high side, it looks like. Johnson sends it on the high side into turns 3 and 4. Gotta be careful. Jimmy, this is going to be an impressive pass if he can get around Kenseth on the high side. Oh, he chipped him. Johnson pulled down a little too early into Kenseth and moved himself out of the way. Off the front bumper of the 17. Business has picked up here at Martinsville. Johnson pulled down a little too early. Almost made the pass on the high side. He may try it again, but I don't think Kenseth's going to give it to him this time. Oh, Johnson overdrove turn 3 quite a bit. Johnson trying to get underneath Kenseth. Kenseth went way too wide himself that time. Jimmy sends it into turn 3. Johnson back out in front with 99 laps to go at Martinsville. Now can he hold on again? Whatever that lap car was on the restart, I think it's Kurt Busch, is starting to pull away. Tony Stewart with the battling with the leaders again is right there, battling for second underneath the 17 of Kenseth. Things maybe start to settle down. I don't want to speak too soon. Tony Stewart's challenging. He got the second earlier in the race, but never really challenged for the lead. He got the lead his first laps. Actually, no, he didn't, because Kenseth won the race off of pit road. And he tried to put the bumper to Jimmy Johnson. It didn't work. Stewart tried, but he was not able to get to the lead that time with the bump and run. Getting desperate. He knows that Johnson a little bit better on the longer run, especially in lap traffic, than Tony Stewart. So Stewart's right there, and he overdrove turns 1 and 2. So Stewart loses a little bit of ground that time. A little bit before the lap traffic yet, so it's pretty much when Stewart's going to have to make this pass on Johnson if he's going to want a good chance to hang on if this does stay green to the end. We've had 2 long green flag runs so far in the race today. Stewart is underneath the 48 of Jimmy Johnson. Johnson going to try to block him into turn 3. Pulled clear. Stewart overdrives the corner. He may have hit the curb. And now he's got to block Kenseth off for second. Into turn 1. Kenseth. And now he's going to go wide. Kenseth misses the corner. Not sure who's behind the 17. Actually, somebody is. I can't tell. It looks like it might be Jamie McMurray. Oh, Johnson slides up a little bit. Tony is right there again, but Johnson pulls down on the front straightaway. Has Stewart cleared. Stewart takes a big dive into the corner, but there was just no time for him to get underneath the 48 that time. I don't know if he was trying to use the bumper or maybe he just entered the corner way too flat for him to be able to make it. We have a race once again here at Martinsville, and it is heating up. And Stewart again is trying to look to the inside. Johnson just gets such a good run off the exit of the corner. Tony just can't stay on the inside down the straightaway. Now he misses turns 3 and 4. Kenseth is underneath him for second. Stewart's in the wall off 4. Stewart pushed it too hard into the wall off turn 4. And now Matt Kenseth is right there looking to get around him. Not going to happen yet. Johnson hard into turn 3. Trying to get away. Kenseth trying to block off. Whoever's behind him trying to battle him for third. Johnson slides the tires into 1. Up the track he goes. Tony Stewart is down low looking for the lead. Somehow Johnson got the corner exit. I'm not sure how. Stewart dive bombs lead into the corner. Stewart with a late dive into the corner now. He's underneath Johnson. And Tony Stewart with the bump and run is going to get to the lead. Johnson wants to get him back. Oh, and he moves Stewart up the track. Kenseth's underneath, almost made it 3 wide. This is not going to last very well. 3 wide into the corner. Kenseth's off the curb. He gets into Johnson. He's moving way up the track. They almost wrecked off the exit of the corner, and Stewart somehow gets back to the lead again. Kenseth had a huge hop off the curb, and once he made contact with the 48, he couldn't get off of him. My goodness. Johnson all over Stewart. Stewart trying to block. Johnson underneath Stewart. Oh my goodness. Jimmy entered kind of flat, but it seemed like he held his line. Stewart really tried to pinch him off there, and Tony again holds on to the lead. Johnson locked the tires up. Kenseth gains ground on the 48 now. Johnson got a really good drive off the exit of the corner again right there. It's going to be tough to get around Stewart. Oh, both cars got a little wide. Getting into the corner. Stewart goes way too wide. Trying to cut back down, but Johnson bounced off the curb so he couldn't get back underneath the 20. He almost did. Stewart was able to regather himself in the center of the corner. Johnson made a minor mistake as well. Johnson beats Stewart back to the gas off 4. Again, looking low for the lead. Stewart trying to pinch him down there as much as he can. Johnson locks the tires up and keeps it off Stewart. Clean pass, but he bounces off the curb. And after he did bounce off the curb, Stewart trying to look low again. Johnson with a block into the corner. Tony looks high. Trying to block Kenseth, I think. A lot of blocking going on. Kenseth to the high side of Stewart. Stewart actually is going to get underneath Jimmy Johnson. Johnson barely clears Stewart down the back straightaway. Stewart goes up the hill. He overruns the corner. He was very hard on the brakes that time. I don't know how Kenseth didn't get around him. Stewart all over the 48. Will he use the bumper? And Dale Jr.'s back in the mix now, up to 4th. Haven't seen him lead in quite some time. Tony Stewart is right there. Putting a ton of pressure on Johnson. Still 79 laps to go. Stewart makes the dive. Johnson trying to get the run off the corner exit. Johnson pinches Stewart down. Oh no, Stewart's into the barriers. Stewart's into the tire barriers. Our 5th caution of the race. Contact with Jimmy Johnson off the exit of turn 2. And much like with Dale Jr. earlier, they got hooked together. Nowhere to go for Tony Stewart. Our 2nd driver into the barriers today, and that is the 5th caution of the race here at Martinsville. Things are starting to get a little sloppy late. My goodness. Johnson staying out of the pits. He's going to keep this track position. Lap cars on the inside of the lead lap cars for another restart. About to lose my voice. Hopefully not. Green flag back in the air. 75 laps to go at Martinsville. Ryan Newman on the inside trying to get to the lead on the restart. Johnson overdrives 1 just a little bit. Didn't help. The lap cars are underneath him. Jimmy gets into the wall now. Stewart Burton with a block trying to hold on to his lap. He got 1 lap in after the restart that time. Johnson's still stuck on the high side. Oh, they're 3 wide. They made it without any contact somehow that time. Johnson's still in the lead as he knocked it into the wall into 3. I think all this damage is definitely upsetting the handling of the race car. Johnson pulls down. Will Stewart use the bumper? Oh, no! Got hooked, but Stewart's into the wall, hard, head on. Oh, my goodness. Another crash. They were 3 wide. Stewart was going for the lead. Johnson just had nowhere to go. Waltrip got into the 48, and then the 20 went wide. And Johnson just got sandwiched between the 20 and the 15, and Stewart had more than half his car up the track, so into the wall goes Stewart. And cautions are breeding cautions here at Martinsville. Still. I mean, this is just going to be a survival of the fittest at this point. Stewart's got the lead. The timing of the yellow. This game, they hold on to their spots. If they get turned, and Stewart's now a rival with the 48 of Johnson. That one wasn't... it might have been Johnson's fault more on the first one into the barriers, but the second one not so much. He's got Riggs pulled up high in front of the 48 of Johnson that time. Stewart got a good restart. Jimmy finally gets down to the bottom, 3 wide. We haven't seen that work well at Martinsville. A little contact with McMurray. Stewart is upset with Jimmy Johnson late at Martinsville, but he is the one in the lead. And now he's got the clean air as his teammate Bobby Labonte lets him go. He's going to be blocking Johnson all over the place now. Johnson finally clears Labonte off turn 4. Labonte held on strong there for a little bit. Stewart way wide into turns 1 and 2. He made a mistake. Johnson's all over him. So he's going to be blocking him quite a bit, though. It's going to be interesting to see how Johnson will get around the 20 of Stewart. And just beat him off the exit of the corner. He's hooked on the 20. Oh, Stewart's going to go around. What happened there? Johnson just got hooked on the back of Stewart. Stewart gets turned again. Yeah, he's really got to be frustrated with Jimmy. Just got stacked up. Stewart went wide into the corner. Johnson got really close to him, and obviously into the back of him off 4. Jimmy just couldn't get off of him. He's going to come to pit road and repair this damage. Slap 4 fresh tires back on the race car as well. I don't know. I've lost count of how many cautions we've had now. My goodness. I think that was the 7th caution of the race, if I'm thinking correctly. 5 of them in the second half. Really, in the last 50 or 60 laps, we've had 5 yellows. Look at this damage on the 48. Mistake on the pit stop, but I think Johnson might be the only driver on pit road. I could be wrong on that, but it's getting ugly at Martinsville. Very slow stop here for Johnson, repairing all that damage. But again, they were the only car on pit road. It's a 20.2 second stop. They made a mistake on pit road as well, too, getting the rear tires off, the right rear tire off. All more cars have been getting on the lead lap, so Johnson's definitely going to have a lot of cars to try and pass here. Green flag, though, back in the air at Martinsville. Johnson made a little bit of a mistake, way too aggressive into turn 3. That did not work. Jarrett pulls up in front. Nowhere to go for Johnson after Jarrett did pull up in front of him. Just got bottlenecked up there. Johnson shown in 13th. Now there's more contact up ahead. Jimmy tried to check up. Gets into the 192 car. Oh, this is not good. On the outside. Check up so much. Crushing tires and making contact on the restart. We still got 60 laps to go at Martinsville. Johnson into the back of the 141 again. Tony Stewart leads. I didn't think he had the car the first half of the race. Got the intensity, though, now. Johnson locks the tires up, just trying to keep it off the 192 car in front of him again. Jimmy's got fresher tires, but he's got a whole bunch of cars to pass right now. Lap cars and lead lap cars included. Backing it well below 50 miles an hour into the corner, just trying to keep it off these guys. As far back in the running order as we've seen Johnson all day. I think this might be the first time we've seen him outside the top 10 today. Jarrett almost got into Jimmy Lane that time. As we're starting to file out a little bit more. Johnson's got to be careful with that left front corner. The left front fender, because it's in the red right now. Johnson sends it into 3 underneath Newman. Jimmy's really only got, with all the cautions we've had, probably only 20 lap pressure tires from everybody else. Newman bounces off the curb, getting into the corner. Randy Garn trying to block the 48 of Johnson. already been turned twice. Once was just being over aggressive, another was a racing deal. Well, Johnson hopes he's got enough time to get up there. He's got to be patient to take care of that left front fender, which is in the red. It's the only reason he's patient, because you don't want a DNF. Especially Talladega being the next race, will bump and run on Brendan Gaughan. That was actually 4th position. So even with Gaughan spinning twice, he's actually on the lead lap in 11th now. Johnson's like 8 seconds off the lead from Stewart. Busch, Jeff Gordon right in front. Johnson beats Busch off the exit of the corner. That's for 9th. Gordon thought about blocking Johnson. Johnson was already underneath him. Gordon knew he was going to lose the bottom. That's why he wanted to stay in front of the 48, because not only Johnson got around Gordon, but so does Kurt Busch. It looked like he was going to, and then wasn't able to do it. Johnson's only got 20 lap pressure tires. It is going to be tough for him to get up there. How about that generated driver running in the top 10? Not sure who that is, but it was a pass for position. Stewart has not yet caught lap traffic, though. Johnson screams past Ricky Rudd for 6th. It's the interval time, though, between him and Stewart is a big thing. There's still a lot of lap cars in between them. Trip is the next lap car. Johnson off the curb. Trip trying to pinch him down. Jimmy's like, hey, you got to give me a little bit more room. Might not have been a great idea for Johnson to pit there. Although he did have to repair damage. That left front is in the red right now as it is. He didn't repair damage. That might not have turned out very well. Just made a pass on Jeff Burton to get back inside the top 5. And he is closing ground on Stewart now that Stewart has hit lap traffic. It's gone from an 8-second lead to about a 6-second lead. It might start to even out a little bit once Johnson has to catch those same lap cars. Sends it into 3, quickly getting around Jamie McMurray in the 42. He's a lap down at least. Matt Kenseth might be the next driver for position in 4th. I don't believe Labonte's on the lead lap. I think he's a lap down. Problem is, with the red left front, we know Stewart's a rival of Johnson now. It's going to be tough to get around Tony. Laps are definitely clicking by pretty quickly. You guys won't miss any of the action. If we get a challenge for the lead or caution comes out again, we'll come back immediately. But for right now, you're watching the Advanced Auto Parts 500 at Martinsville live on KRC. We are back. We are back with 23 laps to go at Martinsville. Johnson has finally caught Stewart with Casey Kane and Dale Jr. right there as well. A 4-car battle for the lead at Martinsville. Stewart, a rival of Johnson right now. He's going to do all he can to block Jimmy and maybe even beat and bang with him. I would have to assume that would likely be an option. And with Jimmy Johnson's left front fender in the red, he can't afford a hit to that area of the race car. How's he going to get around Stewart? He's going to take it 3 wide off the exit of turn 4. Stewart tries to sideswipe the 48 of Johnson. Johnson saves the race car. Oh, my goodness. And here comes Tony Stewart. Back into it again. Johnson's going to try to pay Stewart back. He's going to try to put him into the tire barriers. He does. Caution's out again. Payback on Tony Stewart. Stewart trying to move Johnson. Johnson put him in the tire barrier for revenge, and we have our 8th caution of the race. That's the 2nd time Stewart's been in the barriers. He backed up and hit it like 3 times, too. Oh, my goodness. I'll tell you what, Casey Kane might get his first career win, and these two keep trying to take each other out. Oh, they gave Stewart the position. I thought Johnson was in the lead when the caution waved. I guess it was Stewart. Got all those lap cars to the inside on the restart. 17 laps to go at Martinsville. Green flag back in the air again. Stewart got passed by one of the lap cars. So did Johnson, though. Waltrip got around him. Jimmy going to beat Waltrip to the inside. 3 wide. We got into Stewart a little bit. Stewart with the block late in the corner. Clean air for Stewart. He clears McMurray off turn 2. Stewart is hot right now. It's going to be tough for Johnson to get him. Oh, big bounce off the curb. Stewart didn't get... Might have had a little rear wheel spin that time because he didn't get back from the gas as quick as I thought he was going to, with Johnson bouncing off the curb. Johnson trying to find a way around him. He doesn't want to use the bumper if he can help it because the left front's already in the red. 13 laps to go at Martinsville, and the top 2 are pulling away from the pack. They got out of the lap traffic quicker than anybody else. Johnson gonna look low. Tony Stewart way up high. Johnson's gonna send it into turn 3, trying to get around Stewart before he can hit him. He bounces off the curb and goes a little wide, but he clears Stewart. Clean pass on Tony Stewart. 12 to go. Johnson's back out in front of Martinsville. Now Stewart's on the chase. Can he put the bumper to Jimmy Johnson? Blown car on the inside of the racetrack. That's Dale Jarrett. He will not make it to the finish. Stewart runs way too wide in that corner. Johnson off the curbing now. I don't know if these leaders are going to catch lap traffic by the end of the race. That can be problematic for Stewart. Can he get to Johnson's bumper? You know he's going to use it if he does get the opportunity. Oh, Johnson off the curb. 10 to go at the line. Stewart is closed. I'm not sure who's in 3rd, but they may be in the best position, even though they're not exactly there. Stewart drove it in deep. He almost got into Jimmy. Except these 2 cars are going to last to the end of the race. Stewart, oh, he moved him. Tony Stewart moves Jimmy Johnson out of the way. Johnson barely kept it off the wall. 9 to go. Stewart's back out in front. Here comes Casey Kane in 3rd. The rookie trying to get his first career win. Eight to go. Well, we said he'd probably use the bumper. Johnson slid the tires again into 1. He's trying too hard to get back to Stewart. I'm going to caution the rest of this race. They will restart single file. Stewart trying to block Johnson. Down the front straightaway. Jimmy going to try to force Stewart into a mistake. Remember, that left front is in the red on Johnson, so he's got to be careful. Stewart again trying to block. Johnson looks to the high side. Almost there on Tony Stewart, but not quite. Kane is about a half a second off the lead behind the leaders. 6 to go. Bounce off the curb. If Jimmy can somehow get around Stewart cleanly again, that would be very good as he sends it into turn 3. Off the curbing, into Stewart. Stewart puts him in the wall, and here comes Casey Kane. Big contact. Kane gets jacked up on the bottom lane. Oh my goodness. And Stewart somehow hangs on to the lead, but now the right front and the left front are in the red on Johnson. Kane almost got to the lead, but he ran out of room. Kasey Kahne to the inside of Johnson for second. Johnson can't get back down to the bottom to make a move on Stewart. Kasey Kahne right there. Kane gets into the side of Johnson. That costed Kane the spot, but Johnson slides the tires into three. Kane off the curb. Otherwise, I think he might have been able to clear Johnson. 2 laps to go for Tony Stewart, who is trying to get his second win of the year. Kasey Kahne drives it in deep. Stewart trying to block Kane on the bottom now. And now will Kane use the bumper on Tony Stewart? White flag in the air, 1 lap to go. Johnson to the inside of Kasey Kahne for second place. A little bump. Johnson is right there, but he can't get to Stewart's back bumper into 3 and 4. He gets underneath him, off the exit of the corner. Stewart's going to pitch him into the wall, and Tony Stewart's going to win at Martinsville. Pinching Johnson into the inside wall to beat him to the checker flag. Tony Stewart is going to win at the paperclip. Johnson tried to stay as low as he could. Off the exit of 4, he got the drive off, and Stewart, pinching him at the right moment, was able to hold on to win. My goodness. He didn't have the car in the first half of the race. He did all he could to stay on the lead lap before that first yellow. He fought and fought and fought, and Tony Stewart finally ends up with the win, his second of the season. And Johnson, who led the most laps, once that Brendan Gaughan caution came out earlier in the race, it was a caution fest for the final 120 laps. We had 6 yellows in the last 120 laps of the race, out of the 8 total that we had the entire race day. And it looked like Johnson almost had Stewart beat in that final corner after passing Kane in the lap before, off of turn 4. Johnson got that same good drive off on Tony Stewart, but Stewart pinched him where Johnson had the bumper out in front, and he was able to fend him off. We got to see if we can see a replay of it. Oh, they might have a replay. Highlight number 5. You kind of saw it right there. We'll let it cycle back through again. See if we can end up finding it again. Well, Tony Stewart gets the last lap at Martinsville, it looks like. I'm just glad we didn't DNF when he pinched us into the wall both times. When he pinched us into the wall with he used the bump and run, then I think he pinched us in the wall like 6 laps to go too. I thought that we were going to DNF because we had the right front and the left front in the red, but we held on. Somehow never shed any debris. See how damaged both Stewart and Johnson were. That was coming to the line, I thought. No, that was the first time. That's right. That was the first time he pinched us into the wall. He got back to us, and that was the finish of the race right there. Kane almost stole third. He was on the outside of Johnson after Jimmy got pinched into the wall. Kasey Kahne almost stole second place away. That was like Martinsville Fall 2018 Logano and Truex right there. My goodness. When Hamlin almost got the win that day. What a race. Crazy for sure. Top 4 all finished within a second of each other. Almost kind of forgot about Junior up there. He closed in late. He was there before that last caution. But then he kind of took the longest to get through the lap traffic, but all the contact the top three were making, I guess he did end up closing just a little too late for him. Take a look at the race analysis. Tony Stewart with the win. 3 hours and 9 minutes on today's race. 8 cautions for 24 caution laps. 26 lead changes in this 500 lap event. Tony Stewart led 70 laps with the win. Jimmy Johnson led 392 of the 500 laps. Finishes in second. He qualified second as well. So he does get 10 bonus points. Case Kane led just 1 lap in the race. That was enough to get him 5 bonus points. Third place finish, obviously, for Kane. Very good. Dale Jr. ends up finishing 4th. I believe that's Kane's career best finish with this being his rookie season. I don't think he's finished 3rd or better. I know he hasn't won. He might have a runner-up somewhere in there. He finished 2nd in the dual race at Daytona early in the season, I remember. But, Dale Jr. finishes 4th, 16 laps led. Kenseth led 16. He rounds out the top 5. Ricky Rudd 6th. Jeff Burton 7th. Jeff Gordon 8th. Mike Murphy, generated driver, finishes 9th on a short track. That's pretty solid for that team. Kurt Busch rounds out the top 10. We had 15 drivers finish on the lead lap. See who all DNF. We know Brian Vickers blew an engine. I'm not even sure who that is. Gibson, one of the generated drivers, blew an engine. Greg Biffle, we saw him blow an engine. Saw Dale Jarrett blow an engine very late in the race, so only 4 DNFs, despite the fact we had 8 cautions in today's race at Martinsville. My goodness. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. I will see you guys in the next live stream. Well, the next premiere, I guess. Likely. I don't know. This is going to come out on Saturday. I don't know if we're going to exactly have a premiere. But if we do, I don't know if it can be as wild as this one here today. But we'll see. Like, share, and subscribe, guys. I will see you guys next time.